How many times can I say Scandal in this video? Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to today's bonus video. Today I am chatting with you all about the books I read in June. Let's start with Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld. I began reading this after I read The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. It did take me a while to read this. I started reading this on April 11th. And I finished reading it in June 12th. It took me 2 months to finish reading this book, and it's totally not the book's fault. It was Mercury retrograde. We did also have an eclipse, and my energy was literally all over the place. I could not focus. And then Vanderpump Rules entered the chat. I love pop culture. Let me know down in the comments if you love pop culture as well. I was feeling a bit of FOMO, especially right before the first reunion episode aired. I think it was also right before the Scandal episode aired. So due to that FOMO, I started watching Vanderpump Rules from the beginning. Yeah, from the beginning. There are 10 seasons of Vanderpump Rules. Once I was finished with Vanderpump Rules, I decided to go back to romantic comedy. I was suffering from Vanderpump Rules withdrawals as I tried really hard to get back into this book, but I am really glad that I did not give up, especially since I didn't have loads of reading left to do. I definitely loved this contemporary romance. It does give you a solid insight into how their show, The Night Owls, which is similar to SNL, is made. Now, I've enjoyed SNL over the years, but I can't say I am a consistent viewer here. There are a number of political references also made within this book, which I enjoyed. Sally and Noah, the two main characters within this book, are in their 30s and they have had some pretty major life experiences. Both of these characters felt quite real, and I absolutely loved that they were not perfect. These characters have made mistakes, and like Sally, I can be quite the meanie, and I can do a really good job at self-sabotage, especially in my younger years. I try not to do that a ton now, and I oftentimes have beat myself over it so much. I still rooted for Sally, however, even with her self-sabotage and saying a few mean things here and there. That at all did not make me dislike her. In fact, it made me like her even more. It made me want to see her become a better person. And then I do love the back and forth that Sally and Noah had once they reconnected. I didn't mind the reference to the pandy here. I don't think that it's too soon to incorporate something like that into a book. I feel like it was an uncertain time that tested many. It tested relationships, and it made others stronger. Essentially, I feel like we're still living in the pandy. I can see, however, how some would have an issue with it. And at the end of the book, I am glad that I didn't give up on it. I definitely needed a romance book such as this after watching Scandal. and the Scandival episode, the reunion episodes, and, you know, the revelation at the end, which was, I would say, an actual revelation. I really want to rate this book a 5, but I am going to rate it 4 out of 5. I love the author's writing style here. It was definitely easy to read, and oftentimes when I read a book by a new author, it does take me a bit of time to adjust to their writing style, and I didn't experience that with Curtis Sittenfeld, so I may pick up another one of her books. Just want to see what's out there, of course. Romantic comedy didn't make me cry or sob uncontrollably, and I didn't experience the ick as I have often with the Colleen Hoover books that I started my reading journey with recently. So this is, I would say, what I look for in a romance book, and it is one that I will compare other books with or to in the same fashion that I do with Call Me By Your Name. I often think about that book, and I think that I want to change my rating of that book from a 4 to a 5. The next book I read is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings, and I began reading this immediately after I finished Romantic Comedy. I had had enough of the reality TV and all that is Scandival that after I finished reading this, I felt accomplished. I was like, what have I been doing with my life? I need to get back into reading. So I picked this up June 12th. I finished this book, and then I drove my ass to Barnes & Noble because I did try to order it on the Amazonia, and it literally was getting here like at the end of June, and I was like, we are not having that. I want to read this book, and I wanted to read it now. So I saw that Barnes & Noble had a copy, and I picked up the second to last copy available. I finished reading this June 21st. So I read this in about 10 days, and I did tab the life out of this book. I also highlighted and made some notes, simply because there were a lot more characters in this book than there had been in the previous books that I had read, and I wanted to like kind of know these characters a little bit more. I was intrigued. I wanted to know. So the writing at the start of this book definitely felt a little bit more romantic to me than what was written in the rest of the body of this book. I loved Jessa Hastings' writing style. I again found this easy to read, and I did find myself reading some sentences, some paragraphs back again for a second, third time, just because of how beautifully written they were. Magnolia Parks captured my attention so fast, so quickly, that as soon as I was past those 50 pages, I was on the Amazonia, and I did order Daisy Hates, I guess, the second part of this universe, and then Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home. So I was in this, and I was in this so deep. I ordered those two books so quickly. Now, the arrival date didn't really matter there because I knew that this was going to take me a while, since this is close to 500 pages long. Yeah, just about 494. So I highlighted a lot because of how many characters there were within this book. The only other book that I remember having loads of characters were These Violent Delights, which I also enjoyed. I really liked the family in that book. I wanted to know more about them as well, but they weren't so much so a part of the book as much as some of the other characters within this book. This book primarily revolves around Magnolia and BJ, as BJ did something to kind of ruin their relationship, a relationship that I would say is quite toxic. And I liked it so much, and I missed the drums, you know, Scandival. drums. There is also a bit of alcohol abuse use and drug use within this book. So do, note that in case that's a trigger for you. I will say this, I liked the book, but I don't think that I liked Magnolia and BJ, because I was in the middle of this book and I still didn't like Magnolia or BJ. Found myself digging and rooting more for Tom until I read, of course, the twist in his story. But, sometimes you just can't help who you fall in love with. Not that I would ever fall in love with the person Tom fell in love with. Not at all. No, thank you. No. But I loved how Tom broke things down for Magnolia. I loved how he made her feel safe, as you should with your partner. A total contrast between her and BJ. I think one of the things that I love about my relationship and my partner is just how safe I feel with him, and he just does that to me all of the time. If I ever feel anxious, sad, or depressed, I'm like, I need a hug. And here comes this man, giving me like the longest hug, or however long I need this hug to be, to make me feel safe and to make me feel secure and much better. That is, I think, why I was rooting for Tom in this book. That's why I liked him, because he made her feel safe. And it felt to me at times like Tom was the adult in the room. Like, oh, you need space? Let me give you your space. Oh, you're feeling like this? Well, let me kind of, tell you why you're feeling this way, There was also a meeting between BJ and Magnolia in this book, and I just cannot find it for the life of me. I should do better when I highlight very important or really cute things that I read within these books. They met when they were either going to a hotel or they were at the hotel. That paragraph that was written so beautifully that I found myself reading that 2 to 3 times, and sometimes I would just go back to it and read it. Now I just can't seem to find the page, so I am sorry about that. Although the back and forth here between BJ and Magnolia did get repetitive, I didn't mind reading about that at all. Their behavior towards one another, like, it was not healthy at all, but it's definitely entertaining, and it was entertaining. With each back and forth, I found that we learned a little bit more about what BJ did wrong and how it broke Magnolia, and how she found herself trying to hurt him just as much as he hurt her. Towards the end of the book, I still found myself rooting for Tom, even though I knew that it wasn't going to work out. Tom, again, felt like the adult in the room, even though he, of course, did make some mistakes throughout, because nobody is perfect, and I don't like it when books make one person be like the most perfect person in the world. That doesn't exist. So I am now reading a new book to kind of switch things around, but I still found myself thinking about this book. And while no book is perfect, of course, I did find myself quite a bit annoyed with all of these outfit descriptions. It was like there was something serious happening, and we were talking about outfits and brand names and logos. And do understand that we are being shown just how wealthy this group of characters were by how expensive their outfits were, but sometimes I just wished we would get to what exactly was happening without the fashion. And I'm sure if fashion is your thing, you absolutely ate that up. At times for me, it just felt showy. Magnolia Parks, I will say, is not a fluffy, rosy romance full of butterflies and rainbows and lollipops. That's not what type of read this is. This is a toxic relationship, and I am all about it. This is entertainment, especially after Scandal. this felt appropriate. It was like I was having scandal withdrawals and this just gave me the drums all over again. So again, drug use, alcohol use, as well as major relationship drama. So do look up trigger warnings. As far as songs, I felt like Break My Heart Again by Phineas, Billie Eilish's brother, feels like should be the song for this book, for this universe. I found this song via a playlist around the 290, 300 page mark, and it literally made me so sad for them. I think I listened to it on repeat for like 2 full days. The lyrics here. So go ahead, break my heart again, wondering why the hell I ever let you in. Are you the definition of insanity, or am I? Ugh. So dead. Okay, my next read was Beach Read. I think this was on my Summer TBR video that just went up. I will link that up above for you. Beach Read by Emily Henry. Although I really did want to read Daisy Hates so badly after I finished Magnolia Parks, I switched things around. I hit another gear. As I began to read this, however, all I thought about was the toxicity, the drama that was this book. And I wanted it, I needed it in my life. The grasp that Magnolia Parks has on me is unreal. I moved on. Beach Read. I began reading this the 21st of June, and I wrapped this up June 30th. Couple things that I enjoyed here are page 85, Gus's description. I could vividly picture the curves of Gus's arms as he tugged the shirt over his head, a flat length of stomach framed by the sharp angle of his hip bones. He was a little softer than he'd been in college, not that it took much, but it suited me. Or maybe it suited me. Another page 96, another description of Gus. It was all of Gus's minor imperfections, his scars and ridges, crooked lines and sharp edges, and how they added up that had always made it hard for me to stop looking at him. It made me want to see more. Give us more. Page 100 of this. His pupils were disrespectful to the laws of nature. My skin started burning under them. I love that. This book. I liked how January and Gus interacted with one another. I liked the author's writing style here as well. It didn't feel juvenile or young. I found the characters to be quite smart, real, and not perfect. I do love a character that is not perfect, if you have not noticed. I also loved reading about January's relationship with her father, mother, and the other person, and it gave me something extra other than just Gus and January's relationship that I found captivating about this book. All of the characters in this book I enjoyed a lot. I loved how once something happens to her father, a lot of what January thought was real and true, well, it wasn't. So it really made her, January, second guess her relationship with both her father and mother. You know, the two people that you may trust and love the most, the two people who you may think are honest and true with you. Sometimes they do things that you know, aren't honest and true. I found her trying to wrestle with that captivating. So page 108. It was crazy that I remembered that night in college so vividly that I knew he'd touched me just like this. That first touch when we met on the dance floor. feather light and melting point hot. Careful, intentional. Oh God. I love it. This quote, page 119. He fit so perfectly into the love story I'd imagined for myself that I mistook him for the love of my life. Can you imagine? Like, how does that happen to people, and how many people has that happened to? Things do get spicy towards the end of this book, which I found refreshing. Some of the books I have read recently seemed more closed door. Here we get to read exactly just how January feels and how Gus makes her feel in certain situations, often describing what's happening in the bedroom. The spice, I would say, was written nicely. It didn't feel fake or like the author just kind of slapped it in there for the sake of adding some spice. I feel like it felt natural, just as their relationship evolved, and so did their interactions with one another. From what I remember, it feels like there were 2 spicy scenes, or maybe you could say 4. Page 316. Maybe I came because I needed someone to know that I'm sorry too, that I will always miss him too. Maybe I wanted to understand I'm a complete person and not just someone else's mistake. Okay, I know who says this quote, and I truly, truly felt that quote. So I'm gonna end that there. Songs that I enjoyed listening while I was reading this book was definitely Losing My Religion by REM, and then Miss You So Much by Miley Cyrus. I was never a fan of Miley Cyrus's music until I began reading. Like, I would personally not listen to Miley Cyrus, like, no way. And now every recent book that I've read is made so much better by listening to her songs as they're sprinkled in, you know, these reading playlists. So I thoroughly enjoyed reading Beach Read, even though at the beginning I clearly wish that I was reading Daisy Hates instead. About 100 pages in, however, I was in this world. I was with January and Gus, and I didn't miss the toxic drama as much as I missed it in the beginning. I am going to rate Beach Read a 5 out of 5. I feel like it was beautifully written, and I cannot wait to pick up Happy Place by Emily Henry. I will say that this book brought me to tears. I was crying. I was sobbing so much. This book didn't bring me to tears, I will say, but this sure did. And definitely not for the reasons that I thought I would be crying over this book. Did I tell you what I rated Magnolia Parks? I don't think so. I don't think I told you what I rated this. So I am going to rate Magnolia Parks a 5 out of 5. I was thoroughly in this world. I am invested. I want to know what happens next. Give me all the drama. Give me the toxicity. I know that relationships should not be that toxic. Like, if your relationship is that toxic, red flag. But for reading purposes, of course, love. So 5 out of 5. The writing here, right up my alley. And here as well, 5 out of 5. I love the spice in this as well. It felt very adult, very mature. Let me know if you have read any of these books. Let me know in the comment section. What did you read in June? Do you have any book recommendations based on these reads of mine? Let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye.